Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Where Are They Now? Today we are going to be discussing somebody I haven't spoken about on this channel since August of 2021. Somebody who is notorious online, impossible to document unless your name is Gino Samuel. Somebody who everyone on the internet knows. Somebody that has been trolled, memed, and criticized for most of their adult, if not all, of their adult life. I am speaking of Chris Chan, Christine Weston Chandler, formerly Christian Weston Chandler. There is no version of a reality where I can adequately explain who Chris Chan is, because it would take too long. Even the Cliff's Notes would be a 2-hour video at the very least. So instead we're going to skip ahead in time to when I made a video on Chris Chan titled Chris Chan Loves Her Mother. And this is the part where I'm going to play a clip from that. I'll put a timestamp at the top if you're interested, adequately explaining why Chris Chan got into so much hot water and why Chris Chan got arrested. Do you ever just see something on the internet and realize that's enough internet for one day? This is one of those days. Upon hearing this tale, which came directly from the horse's mouth via released audio, we are going to be discussing Chris Chan. Chris Chan is widely known as the internet's very first lolcow. Chris Chan has made it his and then hers lifelong quest to find a, and I'll quote Chris Chan, boyfriend-free girl, going so far as to admit the reason she transitioned was to get women. Over the years though, Chris Chan's employed rather unsavory tactics to do so, and when the trolls found out, oh, they took advantage. In a recently released audio file, Chris Chan admitted to doing something one should never do to their mother, an 80-year-old, very much falling apart lady. Doesn't matter how much of a shitty person she is, one never does this. The obvious answers are, you don't beat your mother. That's an obvious one. The one you don't normally want to put on the list, because most wouldn't think about it until you hear America, would be screw your mother. And this is where Chris Chan said, well, I could make it a point not to do that, but instead, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take my index and middle, I'm not going to finish that sentence. So yes, Chris Chan has admitted to diddling one's own mother, and understandably, people aren't best impressed. The thing about that audio being shared is the consequences were inevitable and were going to be swift, because as much as the trolls like to have fun, that is actually a line most wouldn't cross. Chris's address is very well known. The police were undoubtedly going to be called. Here's the mugshot. Not to be confused with this mugshot. Now, it is widely believed that Chris Chan may have been encouraged to engage in this activity with her mother. I don't care if it was encouraged or not. Incest is incest. One does not accept incest in society, and no amount of but and then insert issues here will save you. Now, there were two concerns I had with all of this. The first is Barb. One would want her to be safe. The other would be the pets. Now, it has been confirmed they are safe and being looked after. It's also worth adding, courtesy of Null, aka Josh, we know that there is in fact a protective order stopping Chris Chan from going within 300 feet of Barbara Chandler. We also know that a GoFundMe that had been set up to get Chris more money is being refunded, which could well put Chris Chan in a rather interesting spot, because Chris Chan had access to her mother's bank accounts online and withdrew $750 with the intention of paying it back, because emergency. Over the years, so many olive branches have been shown, presented even, to Chris Chan, and Chris Chan has dumped on every single one of them. While I'm convinced some, maybe a minority, genuinely want to help, the vast majority just want to screw with her, like she did her mother. This has gotten to the point where mainstream news outlets are now talking about this, because it had been trending for days over the weekend. It had overtaken the popularity coverage of the Tokyo Olympics. But something within all of that I found fascinating I'm going to address now. What is worse to you, incest or misgendering? To me, you can't compare the two. I personally don't give a damn about the misgendering in the slightest, because no one's devaluing seeing another person's experience as being trans, but many who are criticizing Chris Chan are criticizing a predator, which is something many people don't seem to understand. So when they say, yes, incest is bad, but you shouldn't be misgendering to get your point across, you are latching on to the wrong part of the issue here. The rest of us want to pillory someone who has claimed to have diddled their own mother every third day, because they deserve it at this point, and if any of that is true, I hope you go to prison. Now, in that video, I didn't play the audio of Chris Chan speaking to Isabella Janki. Isabella Janki has become a bit of a lolcow in their own right. My friend IrAteAlex made 2 videos talking about the insanity of Isabella Janki, and I'm going to play the audio of Chris Chan explaining what they did to their mother from Alex's video, linked to his channel in the pinned comment down below.
So yeah, she's got really the G-spot because apparently I don't believe either Mr. C, any of her past boyfriends and ex-husbands, they haven't really reached and hit her G-spot really in their dicks. They were more focused on themselves really, as opposed to focusing on her, which that's my focus.
Right? Yeah, true. But at the convention, make sure to have a lot of fun with, make sure to have push her have a lot of fun with her, right? Because,
obviously.
Yeah, because now you're doing this for your mom. Yeah, make sure, I'll be there watching you guys, making sure that nobody is trying to hurt you, do anything. I'll take photos of you too. The dance will be awesome. We can take turns. I'd like to dance with her too, and then you guys can take like the slow dance or whatever. And,
and all the other, scientists, for the convention as well.
But how are you feeling, Christine? How are you feeling? Because I know there's a lot of societal pressure on you about, this thing with Barbara. There's a lot of societal pressure and a lot of people, consciously who would judge, and, there's a lot of eyes on you. It must be very stressful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm so sorry about all that stuff, yeah.
Well, still, we'll still have Magic Chan and Griselda dance with.
After being arrested and booked in on incest charges, Chris Chan was categorized as male in jail despite being a trans woman. This is courtesy of an Insider article. Christine Weston Chandler was then placed in quarantine due to COVID-19 protocols at the Central Virginia Regional Jail. The categorization of male came courtesy of a police officer, Captain Hoffman, who said, "I've had an interaction with inmate Chandler, and it's been fine. Everything is okay." Upon successfully completing the COVID protocol quarantine, Chris Chan was then transferred to the Central Virginia Regional Jail, where Chris Chan has resided ever since. At that time, which was mid-August, that particular jail could not confirm whether Chris Chan's bond had been set. The Insider themselves checked the court records, and there was no indication as to information pertaining to the attorney involved or any upcoming court appearances. The subject of what jail Chris Chan was in was actually quite a hot topic, because it was reported by the Daily Mail that Chris Chan was to be housed with women inmates. The jail would not confirm that, since a considerable amount of time has passed since Chris Chan was arrested and placed in jail. Here is a picture of Chris Chan when Chris Chan started being in jail, and here is a more recent picture. Somebody had updated it to look like this. I think we can all tell prison has benefited Chris Chan with regards to the binge eating or the unhealthy eating when Chris Chan is stuck on a very strict routine and more than likely not given much in the way of choice for junk food. The reason that Chris Chan has remained in jail, not prison, for as long as Chris Chan has, is because Chris Chan is being held without bonds. Subsequent hearings took place in November of 2021, February 2022, and July of 2022. All resulted, and Chris Chan will know this all too well, with continuances, a frequent occurrence in Chris's previous legal battles with other people. I believe Michael Snyder is the more notable. Courtesy of the Quickie, which is the Christian Weston Chandler Wikipedia page, we know that Chris Chan has only had contact with the outside world via written correspondences and phone calls. These began in August of 2021. They stopped around February 2022 when Chris Chan was transferred from the Central Virginia Regional Jail to Western State Hospital because Chris Chan has been deemed incompetent to stand trial. Well, was. Because by May of 2022, Chris Chan was transferred back to Central Virginia Regional Jail. In July of 2022, Chris Chan's trial was elevated to the Circuit Court, where it is then sent to a grand jury for a potential felony charge. But again, in August of 2022, this was postponed with a continuance. And because this is going to be used as a get-out-of-jail-free card, Chris's autism was, used as an autism disorder deferred disposition to be considered by the court. A quick point about the autism deferred disposition. This refers to a Virginia law passed in 2020, which could result in a deference of further court proceedings with the defendant placed on probation terms set by the court, which then in turn means the charges would be dismissed, as long as the defendant completes criteria set by the judge before a review of their case. After this, Chris's case was sealed, with only two things coming to light. First, a note waive right to indictment and a transportation order adding to the review. The review for this case, though, won't be until August of 2023. So where is Chris Chan now? Central Virginia Regional Jail. But there is something I want to add. You see, Chris Chan has developed a very strange obsession in prison, although it was something that was coming more and more to light just before. In fact, Gino Samuel had covered it, I believe, earlier in 2022. This celebrity status, this vaunted territory. Do you know who I am? I'm Chris Chan. Yeah. And this can also be proven in the second court appearance, where Chris interrupted Edwin Consolvo, the attorney representing Greene County, by saying, "I am famous on the internet," which then forced David Heilberg, Chris's lawyer, to advise him not to speak unless spoken to by the court. Also, there's a level of mental maturity we need to address, mentioned in that same court appearance, because Chris had hyper-focused on something, wanting to go home and pick up personal possessions first. When this was all ignored, Chris started stomping loudly on the floor, demanding that Chris could go home, and not feeling safe proceeding until Chris could get the items back. I'm assuming, much like the quickie here, Chris thought the interdimensional merge would save Chris Chan. The quickie itself goes into a lot of detail about the circumstances surrounding this, all court appearances, the transfers, a second transfer, and the fact this is going to a grand jury and what happens next. The severity, because of where it's going next, could be 10 years in prison, which is the maximum for felony incest. Potentially, Chris Chan could be placed on the sex offenders register for a minimum of 15 years. This would ban Chris Chan from so many places. If there is a child in any of these conventions that Chris Chan goes to, you can't go. But there's something else that could make this more complicated, and that is Chris has started to deny ever engaging in sexual affairs with his mother. If this is a false statement, well, this gets worse for Chris. The quickie also has all the court records and case information concerning the proceedings up to date, but there's something I want to talk about. A letter. On September the 19th, 2021, the letter reads, "I have finally received fresh paper and envelopes, and I feel it advised to inform you of the following, all of which, as you may or will, you have my consent to relay all of the contents of this letter to Joshua Moon, as well as forward the physical document to David Heilberg, my attorney. The following everyone should hear and appreciate, sincerely, authentic and spiritually and aura deep. I also swear direct truth with my left hand over my heart as I write this sentence. Firstly, and vitally, it should be made obvious and clear that aside from Andy Warhol, my life events at present and so far can directly be compared and matched with that which have been chronicled of none other than Jesus Christ of Nazareth himself in any holy Bible. Also feel free to take any unaltered original photograph of my body's face, neck and shoulder, chest area where I was not wearing the glasses. Then alter the photo to show a naturally growing brown beard, mustache and sideburns. Now place that photo next to any image of Jesus on, of, off the cross. Compare, look deep into my eyes and photograph. Is that a comma or semicolon? See for yourself. I meditate and connect directly and genuinely with the cosmos, both of our universe halves, and thought the timelines and entire multiverse. So despite some lack of physical evidence, I know the ultimate truths, facts, and details, not commonly known or written, drawn or chronicled. That being stated, all of my life, my mind, eyes, and literally held the constant perception of being the central camera, #000, Out of all, hang on, there's more? Where's the rest? Okay, this is 4 pages long. Brace yourselves, folks, because I'm going to read the rest. Page 2. The other cameras, infinite from the first-person perspective of all others. And this goes even deeper, and I encourage you to meditate deeply and see for yourself this and all of the truths. And the reason and truth behind my unique perception is direct and mind-blowingly simple. I am literally the real player one, the one avatar, and this body, eyes and mind, and all, is the one God body, and I am literally also Jesus Christ himself, fully reincarnated and fully reawakened. Even the dimension merge, literally completed and concluding the same for the collective shift. All of this is literally huge chunks of the past, present and in progress events of my second coming, period. Not all details of the past chronicled scripture writings are accurate, and as a member of the Council of Gods and Goddesses with the strongest and direct of connections, I know details have changed some to a lot in regard to the scriptures of past. 3 days on Earth equals 4 months, with 24-hour day-nights, in the heaven realm. So yes, this is the one immortal body, and that was none other than I, off and on that cross over 2,000 years ago in my past life personally. Each and every prayer and praise to Jesus, with a drawing, as of February 1982 at least, have all been directed to this body and soul. Malachi 3. Judgment Day is nearing. Know this well. Praise. Page 3. Moving on with all of that stated your last letter. Next, why I had transferred that money on Saturday, July 21st. Josh had absolutely no right in relaying that detail publicly. Friday the 30th. Forced out of my home and temple. Had nowhere else to go. Had less than $50 between pocket money and only a couple of bucks or so in my bank account. No money in my PayPal. Patreon was not due for a payout until Sunday, and SSI was not coming into my bank until Tuesday. Harriet and Tom Ashby cast me out before I even arrived to Midlothian. The van was majorly uncomfortable. Josh had wired $1,000 to my bank that Friday, but it would not arrive until after or on Monday. Little food and options, and you tried bumming in any parking lot without feeling insecure and paranoid. I needed safety and comfort as quickly as possible. That is why I transferred that money. I was going to pay it back in full, even had $150 from Patreon on Sunday the 1st that went straight to Barbie Chan's bank account. I would have paid the remaining $600 Monday or Tuesday, but Null had to fail his destined test and betray me, like I was betrayed and jailed with a kiss over 2,000 years ago. Now, and as of post-arrest, I have absolutely no way to fulfill that repentance or anything else digital. Malachi 3, 6-15. I repeat all of that personally now. All of you had to over-drama and fail your worldwide test of faith upon me. Page 4. Sigh. And finally, the all-important popular present, FAQ. Why and what the hell? Emmanuel, God above all other gods and goddesses, and one of my mentors, herself, had deemed me to heal, cleanse, and clear Barbara of all of her past sins and regrets, and improve her abilities directly and personally as her goddess. We mainly cuddled, soul-bonded, and talked, consentful and emotionally and mentally supportive and healing. I did as I had done for, and with a chosen few back in, is real, over 2,000 years ago, in cleansing them. More details for the Bibles that had been overlooked and left out. We gods had eased up on the views of adultery. Why else do you all have pro-gay, pro-lesbian, pro-trans, and all today and the past decades? Everyone involved were all being genuinely, deeply happy, content, and spiritually satisfied with themselves and each other, as long as all are over the age of consent, and the activity was consensual by all parties involved, and genuinely spiritually happy. It is good. I have written further insights and details and already shared them with David Heilberg, and I get out on second coming, or sooner by uninterrupted co-divine intervention. All your demons and curses are no more and unrevivable. Judgment Day. Praise us gods. Chris Chan Sonichu. I'm starting to understand now why you were sent to a mental institute briefly. This letter is quite something. Blaming Null is also quite interesting as well. Null's helped you out a few times over the years. Bit of a dick move, don't you think?